The Hyundai Elantra has always been a bit of an underdog, not quite a Civic, not quite a Corolla, and for a while, not really carving out a clear identity of its own. But over the last few years, Hyundai has been trying something different. Not playing catch-up. Not copying the competition. But making bold, sometimes risky moves. And in the 2026 Elantra, that mindset is more refined, more confident, and more convincing than ever. This isn't a full redesign, but it's more than a facelift. It's a realignment of what the Elantra wants to be and maybe a glimpse of how Hyundai wants to be seen in the compact segment moving forward. Start with the design. The 2026 Elantra still has that angular, sharp-edged language from the previous model, but everything's been dialed back just enough to make it look a little more grown up. The front fascia has been reshaped, with a sleeker, wider grille that now runs almost the full width of the bumper. The daytime running lights cut cleanly across the face, giving it a sharper but more mature look. The whole front end is less aggressive in a try-hard kind of way and more confident. It doesn't scream for attention, but it also won't disappear in a crowd. The rear gets a new LED light bar that spans the trunk lid and connects the taillights, making it feel wider, more premium, and honestly more expensive than it is. Hyundai's finally figured out how to make the Elantra look bold without looking busy. Underneath, it still rides on the same K3 platform as the previous model, but Hyundai's made some smart tweaks. The body structure is stiffer, they've improved noise insulation in the floor and doors, and suspension geometry has been adjusted slightly to give it a better ride without losing that responsive edge that newer Hyundai sedans have been chasing. There's a full spectrum of trims again from the base SA to the limited, plus the hybrid versions, the N Line, and the full-on Elantra N. Each of them has a slightly different feel, but across the board, Hyundai's clearly tried to push refinement forward without sacrificing the quirks that make each trim distinct. Under the hood, the base 2.0-litre naturally aspirated engine carries over. It's not exciting 147 horsepower and 132 pound-feet of torque, but it's smooth, efficient, and it does what it's supposed to. Mated to Hyundai's iVT, their take on a continuously variable transmission, it delivers decent acceleration and excellent fuel economy, around 34 to 36 miles per gallon combined depending on how you drive and what trim you're in. For people looking for even more efficiency, there's the Elantra Hybrid. This one pairs a 1.6-litre Atkinson cycle 4-cylinder with a small electric motor and a 6-speed dual-clutch transmission. Power output is modest 139 horsepower, but torque is a healthy 195 pound-feet, and you feel that extra push off the line. It's no rocket, but the hybrid doesn't feel sluggish, either. And with EPA ratings north of 15 miles per gallon, it's hard to argue with the math. But here's where things get more interesting: the N Line and Elantra N. The N Line uses a 1.6-litre turbocharged engine making 201 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque, paired with a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic. It's not quite a hot sedan, but it's firmly in the warm territory. Steering is tighter, the suspension is firmer, and you get a much more responsive throttle. For 2026, the N Line also benefits from improved cooling and better shift logic. It's an ideal middle ground for someone who wants performance on a budget without going full send. Then there's the Elantra N, still the top dog in the lineup. And more importantly, still available with a 6-speed manual transmission. That alone puts it in rare company these days. This car gets Hyundai's 2.0-litre Turbo 4 pushing out 276 horsepower and 289 pound-feet of torque, with the now familiar overboost feature that temporarily bumps it to 286. It's loud. It's raw. It's front-wheel drive mayhem when you want it to be, and surprisingly calm when you don't. For 2026, Hyundai updated the front subframe and retuned the electronically adjustable suspension for better turn-in and more feedback mid-corner. These aren't night and day changes, but they make an already good car even sharper. The Elantra N doesn't try to be something it's not. It knows it's a compact front-wheel drive sedan, but it leans into that. It has torque steer. It has fake noise. But it also has genuine feel, mechanical grip, and real performance credibility. This isn't a poser car with a badge and a body kit. This thing laps tracks and shames cars with way higher price tags. Inside, things have matured too. The 2026 interior sticks to the same horizontal design layout but gets subtle updates: new materials, slightly redesigned air vents, and a revised climate control panel. Thankfully, Hyundai has kept most of the physical buttons, which makes day-to-day usability better than a lot of its rivals. The dual 12.3-inch screens on higher trims now run the latest Hyundai software, with snappier responses and cleaner graphics. Wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are now standard, regardless of screen size, which fixes one of the biggest gripes people had with earlier models. The seats are comfortable, firm, supportive, with better bolstering in the sportier trims. There's still tons of legroom in the back, thanks to the long wheelbase. Trunk space is competitive, and overall, this is still one of the more practical compact sedans on the market. Materials are better across the board, too. Hyundai's stepping up its game here, using more soft-touch surfaces in all the right places. There are fewer glossy black panels, which means fewer fingerprints and a generally cleaner cabin vibe. Tech and safety features are generous. Standard driver assistance includes lane keeping, forward collision avoidance, driver attention warnings, and auto high beams. Higher trims and options bring in adaptive cruise, blind spot cameras, and a 360-degree surround view system that's actually useful, not just a gimmick. There's also Hyundai's Digital Key 2.0 system, which lets you use your phone as a key and even share access remotely with family or friends. And over-the-air updates mean the software in this car should stay current long after it leaves the factory. Driving the regular Elantra is about what you'd expect: light steering, good visibility, and a comfortable ride. It's not going to inspire you, but it's not supposed to. It's about smooth commuting, strong efficiency, and just enough tech to feel modern without being annoying. The hybrid is more refined, quieter, smoother off the line, and feels a little more premium because of the electric assist. It's probably the smartest pick for people who just want something economical and dependable without giving up comfort. The N Line adds flavor: it's engaging, quick enough to keep things interesting, and the dual clutch shifts with intent. If you're coming from a base Civic or Corolla, this will feel like a real upgrade. And the Elantra N? That's where the enthusiast blood runs thick. The steering feels alive. The brakes bite hard. The chassis feels planted even when you push it hard. It rotates better than most front-wheel drive cars, thanks to the electronic limited slip diff and tight suspension setup. And the manual transmission, it's not the best in the business, but it's good. Genuinely good. Enough to make you grin every time you heel toe into a corner. Hyundai even lets you adjust the level of synthesized engine noise or turn it off completely. Custom drive modes, adjustable rev matching, and launch control all come standard. It's the kind of detail most brands just don't bother with at this price point. That's really the story here. Hyundai is bothering to improve, to refine, to actually give a damn. They could have phoned this in. But they didn't. The 2026 Elantra isn't perfect, but it's clearly the result of a company that's paying attention to what people want, whether they're buying for efficiency, value, or performance. This car gives you options. It gives you variety. And in a segment that too often feels like a race to the bottom or a parade of soulless transportation pods, that matters. If you're after a commuter that doesn't suck your soul out through the air vents, the standard or hybrid Elantras are strong bets. If you want something sharper but don't need a full-track weapon, the N Line is quietly excellent. But if you want one of the last truly engaging front-wheel drive sports sedans you can get with a manual and one that won't cost you 35 grand or more, the Elantra N is a gem. It's weird to say this, but Hyundai might just be the last brand giving enthusiasts a real choice in this segment. And the 2026 Elantra? That might just be the most balanced version of this car we've ever seen.